Haymaker Coffee Company was established in 2021 to create the best coffee to fuel the underdogs who perseveres, who hustles, and have the give-it-all mentality to achieve their American dream. Haymaker Coffee only roasts top quality, specialty grade coffee beans, resulting in brews that satisfies those who demand every drop from their coffee and day. If you work hard, run hard, fight hard, and play hard, we have your coffee right here.
Welcome into another edition of the Stripe Show podcast. This is not just any edition of the Stripe Show podcast. I mean, I don't know if I'm more hyped about yesterday's finish at the Century in Maui at the Tournament of Champions, or more hyped about the college football national championship game tonight, or more hyped about the fact that, number one, Tom Hoagie is a good dude because he's taking time out of his crazy ass schedule to come on and be a guest on the podcast. So, I mean, we're just going to have a good time today, man. This is awesome. Tom, thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it, man.
Yeah, well, it's definitely more hype for the football game right now. Let's go. It's hard to even remember there's a golf tournament that was played yesterday, so it's gonna be fun.
So, all right, so hold on. So real quick, I'm gonna jump around here. It's gonna be a crazy podcast. I'm just being real with you. So you walk off 18 yesterday.
Yep.
And you're T3 is Rom hasn't finished yet, right?
He was a couple groups behind me because we got done with our round, and I was in eating lunch, and you could see the 18th hole from where we were eating and watched him finish.
Because you couldn't leave yet just in case something happened.
Yeah, I mean, I could have left. It was a weird day. You know, I started at 14 under. I think Colin might have been 24 to start the day, if I have that right.
He was.
So I never really felt like I was in the golf tournament, so to speak, and went out and had a good front nine and made a few bogeys. And the whole time I'm just thinking make as many birdies as you can to try to move up the leaderboard a little bit. And
right.
Even playing 18, I mean, I completely screwed up the tee shot on the biggest fairway in the history of golf and missed the fairway there. So I had to lay up, and the layup was going to run to the rough anyways. But the whole time I was playing the hole, I'm thinking, if I make a birdie, I might finish 7th or 8th and hang on to the top, just because of where guys were and how many birdies you can make on that golf course. And I somehow made a birdie. I still don't know how, but to think I could have finished 3rd was never really a thought that crossed my mind. But certainly a nice gift that I got.
Yeah, so you get out, so you walk off the golf tournament, you go have lunch, do whatever you're going to do. And then when do you head to the airport? Because, ladies and gentlemen, right now, Tom Hoagie's not in Hawaii, in Maui, looking at beautiful oceans and palm trees. He's in Los Angeles, California, because we got a big football game tonight.
Yeah, I mean, we were scheduled for an 11:50 flight, red eye, that was supposed to get 7 a.m. into L.A. So we got done with the round and just hung out. I did a little bit of laundry to get ready for Sony next week. And we watched the Packers-Lions game, some more football. But somewhere in that process, we got a notification our flight was delayed. Luckily, we were able to jump to an earlier flight that left at 10 o'clock last night from L.A., red eye in, and we landed about 4:45. So I tried to sleep on the plane as best I could, but the lady next to me thought she needed to do some shopping from a Costco magazine for a few hours with lights on in the middle of the night. So I'm not really sure what that was all about, but we're here. We got to the hotel, got a few hours of sleep, and now it's time to rally and get this W.
I mean, it's crazy, man. This is insane. So, all right, we're going to jump. Here we go. We're going to jump back to yesterday now. So, yeah, Morikawa's got a 6-shot lead to start the day. I think after the first hole, he had a 9-shot lead on Jon Rahm. You're not even thinking Jon Rahm's in the tournament at this point.
Yep.
And I believe even after 3 holes, he had a 7-shot lead. I mean, things were going along smooth. And I was going back and forth between the golf and all the games, the play-in games yesterday with all these people trying to get into the NFL playoffs. I'm checking back and forth. And then sure enough, I look over and it's tied. Jon Rahm has tied the golf tournament. And so I look back, and Morikawa didn't play bad. He did make his first 2 bogeys in a row on the back 9, where Rahm, I think, made 5 birdies and an eagle, or 4 birdies and an eagle in a row. I mean, he really kind of took advantage. At any point, did you think anybody else had a chance on Sunday morning? Didn't you think it was kind of just a ceremonial walk for Colin Morikawa?
Yeah, for sure. And I looked at a few leaderboards. I forgot where Colin was, maybe through 9 holes. I think he still had a pretty sizable lead at that point too. And I just briefly looked at his scorecard after we got done and saw that he bogeyed, 14, 15, 16. That's really the stretch in the back 9 that you're going to make birdies and kind of make a move. So, yeah, I mean, but it's golf. I mean, we see that happen all the time. You never know what's going to happen. So you kind of just keep your head down and keep playing for 72 holes and see where it's going to end up.
It is. You had a great day. Finished. I think you had shot 9 under, and that's with 2 bogeys. You bogeyed 10 and 11.
Yep.
The shot on 13. It's been all over. It's been all over social media. It's been on the PGA's Instagram. Could you even see the golf ball?
Yeah, so the lie that I had wasn't horrible. The grass wasn't as thick right there. It wasn't sitting down that far. Like it was thick rough, basically, I would equate it to. The problem that I had was my stance was the ball was above my feet a little bit, and I was hitting a 9-iron out of there. And my concern was, that long grass would grab the hosel, twist the club face shut, and it would go straight left. And luckily, it came out of there pretty good. But I was certain I would have taken anywhere up around the green. What I was afraid of, we were into a pretty good wind at that point, and if that ball floats up in the air and comes up a little bit short, it's going to roll 60, 70 yards back down that hill. And I'm coming up, out of the rough to pretty much making bogey. So that was definitely a big swing right there. And then I got some momentum going and hit a lot of good shots coming in.
Yeah. Do you like the golf course? I think, it's really kind of feast or famine. Is the golf, it comes across on television as if it's wide open and easy. Is that the case?
Well, it is, but I would say that, when you get some of those Hawaii winds, I could see where you're standing on a few of those tees thinking there's nowhere to hit it because some of those landing areas get pretty small in a 40-mile-an-hour wind that you could get there, which is not uncommon. So, you can see why they had to design the golf course the way they did. For us, the first day that we played, there was almost no wind. I mean, which was almost kind of freaky how
Right.
calm. We had a little bit the last few days, but they've got to make a playable golf course in all conditions. So that's what they got.
All right, so let's hop back on the pogo stick. We're going to jump over to tonight. So now, big, huge, massive game tonight as far as TCU goes. Georgia won last year. They're back. Everybody has expected them to be there. But it's great to see somebody like TCU, one of these outliers that aren't in the big old Power 5 conferences and everything, get inside of this. And so to me, I ask you, number one, what has to happen tonight for TCU to pull this off?
That's a good question. 13-point underdogs, I think, certainly stacked up against us. And I don't know what's Georgia won, 27 games in a row or something like that.
Yeah, it's insane. I think they've won 14 this year, which is the most they've ever won in a season.
Yeah, so certainly long odds. But, TCU, we've been used to hearing that, every year that we play, every big game we go against is how, we've got no chance. And it was the same thing last week against Michigan. The Fiesta Bowl was a few of their players were talking how, they'd line up against that 3-3-5 defense and run it right down our throat and show us what the Big Ten's all about. And, I go back my senior year, 2011, so it would have been 2010 football team was Andy Dalton, a few of those guys. And we played Wisconsin. It was the same narrative there was that Wisconsin would line it up and run it right down our throat. And we stopped them there as well and won. So I just think, TCU, these players, they all sort of have a chip on their shoulder. They love this underdog role. And if you look at the whole season, we've been underdogs a lot and the team's just found ways to win. So
yeah,
I wouldn't say one thing has to happen, but these guys are tough, man. They're led by their quarterback, Max Duggan, who the guy's a warrior. And I'm just hoping we get to the fourth quarter with a chance to win, whether we're, down 10 points or so. I think we got a shot because he'll will this team to win.
Yeah, I mean, not to go back to the game, you're undefeated. You get into the championship game, and how do you at the goal line not let him at least have a chance to score against K-State? I mean, that alone, and obviously that loss, you had to think maybe there was a chance you weren't going to get into the football playoff. But
yeah.
But
especially look at our history. 2010 we go undefeated, played the Fiesta Bowl against Boise State. 2009, 2010, we go to the Rose Bowl and win. That 2010 team was really good and probably deserved a shot at the national title. Fast forward to 2014, we're ranked third going into the last week of the season, play Iowa State and win 55-3 and drop to sixth. So another team that probably deserved a chance to win, they went and played Ole Miss in the Peach Bowl and beat them pretty good. So
right.
As a TCU fan, you just felt like this committee is looking for any reason possible to keep the Frogs out. And, we certainly didn't like having that loss because who knows what would happen. But with that said, Coach Dykes I'll give him credit. I mean, he said he certainly wishes he would have had some different play calls right there on the goal line. And there were a few times in the Michigan game where they ran a quarterback sneak and they motioned a tight end right behind the quarterback and pushed him forward, which was a play they hadn't run all year. So they certainly learned from that situation, and hopefully it'll help the team going forward here, from the Fiesta Bowl and tonight.
Now, speaking of the Fiesta Bowl, did you go to that game too?
I did. It worked out really well. My mom lives in Phoenix. I've always gone out to Phoenix before I've gone to Sony Open to practice for a week or two. And I was planning that all along here before Century. So it worked out really well that TCU played in Phoenix. I was there for the whole week and got to go to the game, and it was awesome.
That was a great game. Fiesta Bowl was huge. I mean, back and forth,
Yep.
just massive chunk plays after chunk plays.
Both the playoff games were unbelievable. And I've been one who said, they've got to make this playoff. I don't think 12's enough still. I'd go to 16 or 24 and get as many teams possible and go play this thing on the field like every other sport does.
Right.
So, I hope that those games will kind of spur that. And I know that we're going to 12 and hopefully we can get some more quality games like that. But to be there, that was a wild ride of emotions for that game because it looked like there were 3 or 4 chances, even at the end of the second quarter where if you get a stop, the game's pretty much out of reach at that point. I think it was 21-3 or 24-3.
Right.
And every time you thought that, we're one stop away from winning this thing, Michigan would score right back and get all the momentum. And you're like, all right, we better make a play or this thing's going to go the other way here fast.
Right. It did. It was crazy. That game was so just emotions. Momentum was just going back. Momentum was a pendulum. Every single time it swung away, it swung back the other way. It was insane. So you win that game. And then when do you decide to all right, so I got to go to Maui. I got to play the Century, but you know what? I can get back and then go back again. When do you make that call?
It's funny. So some friends have been asking me, kind of the end of the year, if we get there, will I go? And I'd kind of blown them off the whole time and said, no way, because I got to play Sony. I love that tournament. So I won't be going. But we finished that game. It took me about an hour to get out of the parking lots and all that and get back to my mom's house.
Right.
But I bet I had those flights and hotel rooms booked within 15 minutes when we got back there because I was fired up. I was all in. And I kind of went back and forth, through the next morning whether I should do it or not. But, I saw TCU's last national championship was 1938. So not going to miss this one.
PXG has done it again with the launch of a new lineup of drivers, fairways, hybrids, and irons. The new Gen 5 golf clubs deliver significantly increased MOI, faster ball speeds, longer distances, and tighter dispersions, all coupled with the exceptional feel and sound golfers have come to expect from PXG. Schedule your custom fitting or buy online at pxg.com.
No, you'd be kicking yourself in the ass if they win tonight and you're not there. You were sitting in Maui or you were sitting in Honolulu watching it.
Yeah, and this is kind of my one opportunity where I felt like, I'd won last year for the first time. I've got a couple year exemption on tour, so I don't have to worry about keeping my card or anything this year. So this is kind of the one time that, we work so hard to get these opportunities to go to some fun stuff like this. So let's go do it.
Plus, let's be honest. We played our first elevated event yesterday. There's a little extra cash in that T3. So you know what? I think you can cover the cost of this with that winning yesterday, finishing top 3.
Yeah, I'll tell you what's funny though is talking to friends is it was cheaper for me to fly from Maui to the game here than, all the Dallas to LA flights got bought up so fast and the prices were insane. So I got off pretty easy on this one.
Really? So from Maui back to LA was cheaper?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think I'm going round trip here for $400 or something like that. I mean, it was crazy how cheap it was. And, you talk to friends going from Fort Worth and it's $1,500 or $2,000 for a round trip commercial flight.
Wow, that's insane. All right, so you are going to the game tonight. You said you got a couple hours sleep. You're going to hit the game tonight. When is your flight back to Honolulu?
Yeah, I've got an American flight back tomorrow that I should be on the ground hopefully by 1:00 in Honolulu and hopefully get out to the golf course a little bit of practice. But we'll see how the recovery goes after this game.
Dude, that's insane. You played a 4-day event in Maui, finished on Sunday, Monday night in Los Angeles at the national championship game. And then Tuesday, you'll be back in Honolulu playing a 9-hole practice round to get ready for the Sony.
Yeah, perfect. Just a day off that I needed. The legs were a little sore after walking that hike at Kapalua. So perfect time to take a little break and catch a game.
I mean, really, dude, this is insane. It's a chance of a lifetime. And no matter what happens tonight, it's still that this is a weekend that you're going to remember forever. No, and then you've still got memories to make with however you finish at the Sony.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, like I said, it's a golf course that I enjoy playing. I had some success there. I think it was 2018 where I had the 54-hole lead and was leading the whole way before I made a double bogey on the 70th hole of the tournament. So I've been in contention there. I feel like I know the golf course well, and I feel like I'm playing well now. So I'm excited to get back out there.
Now, how different will it be with a full field event this week versus last week where it was not a full field?
Yeah, a little bit, but I don't really think a whole lot about that sort of stuff. I mean, last week's nice because you're obviously no cut, so you don't have to really stress about that cut early on in the week. You just kind of get going and away you go. But more so the practice stuff's a little bit easier with the smaller field to get out and play practice rounds in a little bit better pace. So certainly that part of it was nice last week.
Now, Tom, let me ask you, once you have your exemption, like you said, you've got your exemption, you've won on tour. Does that cut line this week being a cut line, does that still weigh on you on Thursday and Friday?
Maybe a little bit on Friday, but I feel like if I'm playing well, you're not really too focused on the cut that much because you know that you're going to be more so focusing on getting in contention than anything else. I will say I felt like, looking back on yesterday, there were a few times in the last year I felt like I wasn't as worried about money, FedEx Cup points, that sort of stuff coming down the stretch. But for sure yesterday, I felt like I was just trying to make as many birdies as I could, and really didn't have any care in the world for the money that was at stake, the points that were at stake. It was just all about trying to make birdies coming in. And that was, probably one of the first times in my career where it's been like that, where you really are freed up coming down the stretch. And it certainly makes a big difference.
Now, playing your first elevated event, yesterday was the finish of the very first elevated event. There was more money involved. Did it feel any different? Was there any difference whatsoever as far as you're playing, knowing, hey, there's more money at stake here?
No, I mean, it's something they have to figure out, I think. And I was talking with Adam Scott about it a little bit, that just by calling them elevated events and raising the purses doesn't really do much as far as changing the stature of the tournament and whatnot. I mean, you get it a little bit with all the good players, showing up to play, but something needs to be done to make these tournaments stand out from the rest of them, right? So, I mean, as a player, you're playing it, and I couldn't even tell you what the elevated events are, to be honest with you. I haven't looked at the schedule to even know what the elevated events are because I feel like I'm going to go play the golf courses that I feel suit me well, that fit my schedule well, so I get rest when I need to. And if I go out and play well when I tee it up, whether it's a $8 million purse or 20, I mean, it's kind of irrelevant to me because playing well and being in contention is going to pay a lot better than being 50th place. So that's more my focus. So I haven't even looked too much what the elevated events are, to be honest with you.
Is that generally the focus on tour? The guys that the elevated events are more, because let's be honest, we know that the elevated events were a creation and are here because of what happened from the Live Tour. We understand that. And is that the thought on tour? Most guys are, hey, I'm still going to play the events I want to play. Or are there some people that are, hey, I'm going to play all the elevated events? Because don't you have to play so many anyway?
Well, the guys that are in the PIP, they have to play all the elevated events. I think they can skip one. So they're certainly in a little bit different position than I am. I would say my approach is a little bit more unique, I would say. And I think that came about a little bit from some of the live discussions that I had last year and weighing whether I should go or not. And it was a little bit distracting. And at that point, I kind of realized that I can't worry about all this other stuff that's going on off the golf course, that I just got to go take care of business when I do tee it up. And whether it's in a live event or a PGA Tour event or Corn Ferry or wherever it might be that I'm teeing it up, I've got to go out and play well. And that's been my approach now. So, I think it's certainly helped to kind of keep those distractions away as far as I can.
Did you give live some serious thought?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you had to, when they throw some money at you, you'd be crazy to not take a look at it and see what the options are and what all that entails. It was a very tough time for me to see leaving the PGA Tour just because there were so many events, like last week at Century, like the Tour Championship that I've always wanted to play in for the first time. So that was kind of my decision. I wasn't ready to give those up, and I don't even know what the number would have taken for me to give those up because, they're tournaments that I've always wanted to play in my whole life, and I had qualified for the first time, so I was ready to go play in those.
Right. As far as making that decision, are you one of those? We've talked to some guys where they're like, "Hey, I've made my decision. I'm done. There's nothing that's going to change it. I'm PGA Tour forever." Or are you somebody that's like, "Hey, down the road, things could still change."
Yeah, I mean, I certainly wouldn't say that I've closed it off for sure. I mean, you never know what's going to happen here. How many guys are going to move over there? What the landscape of golf's going to look like. So I haven't closed any doors for sure. But
Does the world golf ranking points change anything for you?
um, not a lot. I mean, that's kind of my avenue in for the majors. So as long as I want to be playing majors, I certainly feel like I need to be on the PGA Tour. Um, but I mean, look, I'm 33 years old. I mean, there's going to come a point in time where you're going to say, all right, you're kind of, fading towards the end of your career, and let's go make as much money as we can.
Right.
That would certainly be more on the live side of things. But, I feel like I'm kind of just starting to hit my prime right now, and hopefully I can play well here for a number of years still.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw this morning, Harry Higgs did an interview, and Harry said that Live, quote, took all the assholes and villains away from the PGA Tour, and that's why there's an issue. And I'm like, well, that's not really a compliment for the guys that left. I understand the
Uh,
villain word. Some guys like to play the villain, but I'm not sure anybody sets out to, yeah, I want to be the a-hole on tour.
I don't know if I'll go as far as Harry on that one. I understand what he was saying that, certainly, you need to build some stories out here for sure with these
Yeah.
guys. Um, you need both sides of it, right? You need the Rory McIlroys and Jordan Spieth. So you need kind of their counterpoint. But I mean, look, what's happened in the game of golf has been great for the players. So you can't fault anybody for going
No,
and
no, not at all. Now,
certainly
uh,
help out with the purses.
being a PGA Tour guy, do you feel on tour? I know in the media it's portrayed one way, but actually being out there and being inside the ropes, do you feel like it's us versus them, PGA Tour versus Live, or is that all just something that's been blown up in the media and it's not that way?
Well, I would say that the concern is real among the players that the momentum that the Live has got. You know, the number of guys that have left the tour. You're worried about who are going to be the next 3 or 4 guys that go and what that's going to look like for the PGA Tour. So there is some concern there. But as far as being against those guys or anything, I would say no from a player perspective, just because, I mean, shoot, I kind of went through that drill and saw how compelling that case could be. And I certainly didn't get the offers that a number of these other guys have got. So you can't fault these guys for taking their money and going to that, and can't hold it against them.
Right. Yeah. It's just, it really has. I think it's been good for players, though. I think for
Yeah.
guys who play golf professionally, I think as financially, it has been good. And that's whether, and listen, I've been very, very open about I just don't like where the money's coming from. If the money was coming from somewhere else, I wouldn't care. Um, I think competition is good for anybody. And I think that the fact that the players have benefited is great. And I don't think anybody can deny that the players have benefited from Live coming on board and in the PGA Tour's response.
Yeah, for sure. Well said. And you know what? I think it's gonna be interesting when you go teed up at majors, and I think it's gonna make the majors that much better this year when you have Live versus PGA Tour coming into it a little bit and seeing how the guys will perform against each other. I think that'll be just another storyline that'll help the game of golf.
Yeah. Do you buy into the thought process that the guys who have gone don't have the incentive to, quote, dig it out of the dirt and practice as hard because the money's already there, and therefore in the majors they probably would not perform that well?
No, because you're still competitors at the end of the day, and I won the QBE shootout with Sahith Theegala as a partner, and I said it then that that was kind of a fun exhibition event, so to speak. And when it came down the stretch there with the chance to win, I mean, whether you're playing a PGA Tour event, whether you're playing a team event like that, whether you're playing your buddies back home just for a little Nassau, just getting that opportunity to win. I mean, it's so motivating, it's so much fun that you want to be there. That I think these guys are still. I mean, I don't think much is going to change for them as far as their work ethic to get back out there. Because, look, I mean, they're still playing for $4 million every week. There's a lot of money on the line there, and they'll certainly be very motivated when they get to the majors to kind of show that their game's sharp still.
Right. I think there's some extra added motivation
Yeah.
now that when they do show up to the majors, they want to show, hey, you guys thought we didn't give a shit. Well, let me show you, we do care and we do want to perform and we want to beat these guys and we want to be so they can't keep, us out of the majors. I think there's a little extra added motivation more than there is less motivation.
Well, there's that, and then I mean, you also have to look that the guys that are about my age. I mean, if you're in your 30s, you've been kind of doing this for 20 years, where golf's your whole life, and getting ready for tournaments is, kind of get what gets you going every day. And I just don't see the big lifestyle change away from that. I still think these guys are going out and grinding every day and getting their games ready to go.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's been definitely been good for golf. And speaking of Harry's story and Singh's stories, I saw that Freddie I think it was on Golf Digest, had a story that Freddie saw that he and Tiger had a disagreement at one point. It's funny now that it's like everybody's got a Tiger story all of a sudden. Like, you know what I mean? It's like they're like coming out of the woodwork where it's like Tiger did this
Yeah.
and Tiger did that. So does Tom Hoagie have any good Tiger stories that we don't know about up to this point?
Man, I'm trying to remember. I played with him 3 times on tour. It's been a while now, obviously.
Was it what you expected?
Yeah, I mean, it was a blast. Just having the crowds there, having that energy. And it's Tiger. I mean, I'm still a fan. I grew up watching Tiger, and
Right.
I mean, to get the up close seat to get to watch that is incredible. So I loved every minute of those days. But I think I've told a few stories, but nothing really stands out to me right now. I mean, I guess I'm getting old. My memory's getting bad because I can't remember a whole lot of those days.
You ever catch yourself like watching him like, holy shit, that's Tiger Woods?
Yeah, absolutely. And some of the shots that he hits, I mean, it was funny. I do remember, after we played Torrey Pines, I think that was the day that Kobe died. Actually, that would have been 2020, right before COVID hit. I forgot who texted me. They're like, "So is Tiger's iron game as good, in person as it looks on TV?" And I was like, "Man, it is so much better." I mean, it's just hard to put into words how impressive it is to watch him flight golf shots. I mean, with the iron game.
He really is. He's the greatest that ever. I mean, to me, I know it's arguable as far as the number of majors go, but to me, there's nobody ever picked up a golf club that could do the things he did.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's really unreal. So before I let you go, I got to ask you, give us a prediction tonight. Clock hits 0. What's the final?
It's a tough one. I think it'll be similar to the Michigan game, that if we're going to hang in there and give Georgia a scare, that this is going to be a high scoring game once again. Let's see. I'm going to go TCU 44, Georgia 42. We got a late drive from Max Duggan to steal one late as the clock's winding down.
Dude, your heart can't take this stuff, man. Are you one of those guys that just during the game? I mean, are you a pacer? Are you somebody that you just can't take it, or are you pretty calm?
I'm not a pacer or anything like that. I would say I'm pretty calm, but I'm into the game. I probably won't have much of a voice come tomorrow, so it's a good thing we're doing this interview here today.
Tom, man, I appreciate it. Before we let you go, real quick, we've done this with you before. We'll do the emergency 9. I'll ask you real quick some quick 9 questions. Most of them, a lot have nothing to do with golf, just random questions. Number 1, what is the worst shot you've ever hit, but yet had the best outcome? You ever just topped one and you're just like, you hit it like shit, but yet it ends up near the flag. You're like, all right, never mind. We'll just walk up there and hit that one.
No, I don't really have a specific shot, but I would say there's a lot of shots that I feel like I hit really badly, and I'm pretty pissed off afterwards, and they end up decent. I'm not quite Hideki level where he's one-handed them to like 4 feet all day long, but yeah, there's a lot of misses that end up okay, and I'm pretty pissed off after them.
What's your other than TCU? This is a pretty obvious one. Other than TCU, what's your favorite sports team or athlete? TCU.
Yeah, it's pretty much all TCU these days. We live in Fort Worth, so we go to a lot of the games. I would say growing up, I enjoyed watching Peyton Manning a lot. I mean, he was always the guy that I loved to watch, just the way that he dictated things before the snap and always knew what was going on. He was fun to watch.
Poetic almost. What's your go-to food on the road?
I'm a big Chick-fil-A guy. I love me some Chick-fil-A every now and then. So we've been in Hawaii for a week. I'll be looking forward to that when we get it next.
Most famous number in your cell phone?
I don't know. I'd probably say Gary Patterson, our old football coach at TCU.
All right. Listen, man, I know Gary's gone from TCU, but he's definitely got his fingerprints on this game tonight. These are his kids.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a bittersweet day as a TCU fan. Gary did so much for TCU, built so much of this program that you wish he could have been there on a day like today. But I guess that needed change was there, and the kids have responded to Sonny Dykes as our new coach. But certainly grateful for what Coach Patterson has done, and hopefully we can all celebrate together after this win.
Any player on the PGA Tour you're nervous to be paired with?
I mean, it would have been Tiger probably the first few times, but I feel like I'm 9th year on tour now. I've been out here kind of seen it all. So
right. If you if Tom Hoagie had a side hustle, what would you be doing?
I'm not sure. It would probably be something with numbers. I was a finance and accounting major, so maybe I'd be kicking out some tax returns or something like that come tax season.
I'd be asking you if I could write stuff off. Hey, can I write off my trip to go see the national championship game? I mean, technically, golf magazines and podcasts all talked about it. That's work.
Yeah, I mean, I can go out and hit a few balls here in LA. I mean, it's raining a little bit right now, but I might be able to hit a few. I'm staying right next to LAX. Maybe I can send a few down the runway here.
There you go. They say the stadium there is ridiculous. Have you been to that stadium?
I have not. I'm excited to get there. I've heard traffic around it. It's an absolute nightmare. So, gonna head out there here shortly.
Yeah, no, because they've had a lot of big events there. They just obviously had the Super Bowl there last year, and now they've got this. So I've heard it's an absolutely gorgeous facility. Number 7, the craziest golf tip you've ever received, and where'd you get it from? And I'll tell you why we asked that, because Kramer Hickok said that he was watching something on Instagram one time, and he almost won the next week. So, I mean, crazier golf tips come from crazier places, I guess.
I'm not really a golf tip guy, to be honest with you. I don't really
read
much or anything. I don't know. So I grew up, my swing coach growing up, John Dahl, was big in the fundamentals. So all my stuff is pre-shot, grip alignment, setup, all the boring stuff in golf that you never want to work on. But those are my. Yeah, so I don't really have much. Gosh, I don't know.
Number 8, what tournament do you put the most pressure on yourself to win?
Colonial for sure. I mean, the hometown event there right by TCU in Fort Worth. I started off my career. I played well there the first few years I played, and I missed the cut for the last 2 or 3 years. So certainly got to find a little different recipe this year, but that's the one you desperately want to play well in, just because there's so many TCU friends out there.
Right, obviously. And number 9, music on the golf course or no go?
I don't play music personally, but certainly have nothing against it if friends or playing partners are playing it.
Yeah, because you get some guys are like, nah, we don't need music on the golf course, and then you got others that just like blasting it. There's got to be a happy medium somewhere.
Yeah, that's great.
Well, Tom, man, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for your time, dude. I'm telling you, I am jacked for you guys tonight. Good luck. Hope you enjoy yourself, and safe travels back to Sony, to Honolulu. Now, where can we see you play after? So you're here tonight in LA.
I'm going to play a lot here coming up. I mean, I'm going to play the whole West Coast other than Torrey Pines. So I'll be playing a lot, and hopefully playing well.
Nice. And then we'll obviously see you here when it gets to Ponte Vedra here for the Players.
Absolutely. I love it there.
We'll definitely see you here. Good luck, Tom, man. Appreciate it so much. Thank you. And good luck. Go Frogs. And hope you guys can shock the world tonight.
Love it. It's going to be a fun night. Go Frogs.